welcome to Stretford Paddock. My name's Joe, we're here for the news this morning. Happy Monday, everyone. It's the 1st of June as well, so new month, new you, I guess. We're going to be looking at Odion Ighalo, who has, for all intents and purposes, agreed and finalised. It's all finalised, it's all done. We're just waiting for the FA to confirm that he will be staying at Manchester United until January 2021. So it's not just an extension to the end of the season, it's a further extension into next season, taking us up to what will have been a one-year contract pretty much for him at Manchester United. We're also going to be looking at an update on the Jadon Sancho situation coming out of David Ornstein. We'll look at that a little bit in a few minutes as well. So let's get our first story up today. How's everyone doing at home? Everyone had a good weekend? What lovely weather we've had. Hopefully you've all maintained social distance. I'm sure you all have. You all seem very sensible. Someone said no denim. Yeah. Do what want me. So this is Matt McGrath. This came out of the Telegraph this morning. Obviously these rumours have been circulating over the weekend, and I believe that his transfer or his loan deal was set to expire yesterday. So I suppose technically at the moment, or maybe technically yesterday or for the last few hours or whatever, he has technically been a free agent by my maths. But this is Matt McGrath, who works for the Telegraph. He's a football reporter at the Daily Telegraph. He says that Odion Ighalo has agreed an extension of his loan with Manchester United until the end of January 2021. Deal is awaiting confirmation with the FA for registration. New contract with Shanghai Shenhua to be discussed after the loan with United ends. This was then backed up just a few minutes ago, 14 minutes ago, so just before we went live, from Fabrizio Romano. Of course, we all know Fabrizio Romano. Odion Ighalo's loan to Manchester United will be extended to January. Total agreement reached with Shanghai Shenhua. The player has pushed to stay, and the Chinese club just accepted United's conditions to extend his loan. Official soon. Here we go. So there's the old "here we go" there line from Fabrizio Romano. So this one looks done. It is just a matter now of waiting for the FA to confirm this, which, you know, that's a formality. That's, you know, there's no chance that won't be happening there. Stretford Paddock, Fan TV 199. Joe, you're my hero. I love you. I'm not reading the rest because it goes without saying. Thank you very much. No denim jacket. Great about Ighalo. Exactly. So win loss this morning. Yeah, it is great about Ighalo. Personally, I think he's been an excellent signing in what he's done off the pitch, of course. But I think what he's done on the pitch has alerted us to reminded us of the fact that there are specific sort of character roles almost that we are missing in this squad. Without him, we don't have anyone who can hold the ball up. As good as Martial is and has improved as a striker, let's face it, he's had 3 years off. He came in as a striker under Van Gaal, played a season at striker, then has been pushed out to the left wing, then got dropped for Ibrahimovic, dropped for Lukaku, dropped for Sanchez. He's had a fight on his hands, bless him, has Anthony Martial, and he's finally come back in, become the first choice striker. I think he's got 20 goals and 8 assists in 53 games under Solskjaer, which is an excellent return and an increasing return as well. I think he's in the last sort of 10 or 15 games he's got over a goal every other game. So he's almost sort of relearning that position. I think as good as he's been, and he has been excellent. And Mason, of course, 12 goals, 3 assists as well for someone who's just turned 18 or turned 18 partway through the season. Again, another excellent return. But what none of these players have, and Rashford the same, I think he's sort of found his market now on that left-hand side, 19 goals. Arguably, one of the best players in the league when he was fit this season. What none of those players have is the ability to back into a defender and slow the game down when we need to. We saw it against Man City, we saw it against Chelsea. Those big games Ighalo came on. I mean, the thing is, you can start him against LASK, you can start him against, those early Europa League rounds. You can start him in those earlier Carling Cup or Carabao Cup rounds, or even later on in those Carabao Cup rounds. FA Cup, same thing. You can play him in these sorts of games. You can play him from the start. We've seen you can get goals against the smaller teams. But what we've seen against the big teams, which is for me the thing that has taken this from being, oh, it's a nice little loan and he's a United fan, so let's be nice to him, to I really want to keep hold of this guy, is that he comes on against the big sides. He should have scored against Chelsea. Luckily, the game was already won. But I don't knock him for missing chances because, the best strikers in the world miss chances. And I'm not saying he is one of those best strikers in the world, but getting chances, consistently being able to create chances or find yourself on the end of chances. People used to have a go at Hernandez, he only ever scores tap-ins. Well, if you get yourself in a position to score tap-ins, you're about as highly rated a commodity as there is in world football. Look at Ruud van Nistelrooy. I don't think he scored a goal outside the box for Man United. I know he created a lot and scored some ridiculous finishes, and one of the most lethal finishes I've ever seen, maybe the most lethal finisher I've ever seen. But you don't have to score curlers from outside the box. You don't have to do all this. If you're creating space and finding space against big sides, that's a huge plus for Ighalo, and he does that. The way he held the ball up against Man City when he came on, we were 1-0 up, and I know it ended up being 2-0 with good work from him, funnily enough. But he came on, and the ball goes up to him, and the ball sticks to his chest, or the ball sticks to his foot, and he can hold someone off. He's a little bit stronger. He's better at shielding, better at using his body than anyone else we've got. And whilst I don't think a player like that or a player of that mould should be the first choice striker in the system Solskjaer's trying to play, I think his presence has alerted us to the fact that we need someone like this about. We need someone who can hold the ball up. We need someone who can come on with 20 minutes to go and close the game out. And I don't think we have that other than him, and I think he's been brilliant at that. Someone saying Sal will announce he will join Man United on Wednesday. Trisham Durbury there. So there you go. Sal apparently is going to announce that he'll join Man United on Wednesday. He's got this new team thing, hasn't he, Sal, in case anyone hasn't seen what that is in reference to. He's put new club. I bet he's just joining a pro clubs team or something on FIFA. Surely he's not gone full Griezmann and he's actually going to announce what team he's transferring to on Twitter. You'd assume not. But yeah, it's a great news, I would say, about Ighalo. And to January as well, I'm kind of surprised at that. What does everyone think to that? Obviously, from what I've seen on Twitter and from what I've seen in the comments over the videos we've done sort of detailing this loan of Ighalo, people seem to like him. Everyone seems to be on board with Ighalo at United. What do we think to this extension to January? It sort of came a bit out of left field. That was first mooted last week. That it may not only be an extension to the end of this season, but till January. This goes hand in hand with rumours that non-Chinese nationals aren't allowed to be to travel back into China or to travel into China until potentially October, maybe November. So there's been a multitude of different sort of part rumours that have been placed together as to why this may have happened. But that will mean a year of Ighalo at Old Trafford, which I don't think anyone expected when he first signed. I don't think anyone expected on what would it have been, the 29th of January, that we will have Odion Ighalo for a year at Manchester United. Connor Allen, echoing what we were saying before there, I was shitting against City in the last 20 minutes until Ighalo came on. Just gives a calm to the whole team because they know he can hold the ball up and take off the pressure. Exactly. It's not just about scoring goals, it's about changing the atmosphere of games and giving a confidence. City didn't even hardly make a chance in those last 20 minutes. We just sort of rode the game out, and obviously, McTominay scored to seal it at the end. But even without that McTominay goal, I think we would have won. I think we would have held on to that one-goal lead, not just because of Ighalo, but in part because of Ighalo. And I think we would have had a better chance of doing so with him than with the other options we have, just because they're suited to different things. People saying that happy that Ighalo stays. It's a bit weird that it's until January. That might be about 10 games into next season. We don't know. Well, what it does is it allows us to have another transfer window. I think two things that having him until January does is it points out to me basically a resignation that we aren't going to be signing a striker this summer. And I think we're basically buying ourselves time for next summer. I think, it's all but confirmed United won't be after a striker in the summer now. The fact that if this deal had have ended in the summer, we'd have thought, well, we need another one. We need a replacement for him. We've seen how good he is. If the deal had have ended, let's say, at the 1st of July or something like that, people would have been going, well, United want Josh King, United want this, United want that, United want Dembele. What this has done now is said to us, as far as I'm concerned, maybe I could be wrong, but this to me says we aren't going to be signing a long-term striker this summer. I think we can forget that now. So that may be a downside, but on the upside, it also gets us through the difficult Christmas period with an extra striker, an extra body. When we're playing 2 games a week or 3 games a week, as you do over Christmas, having already played what could potentially be 18 games in 6 weeks or 7 weeks, which is what the players are going to be doing starting on June the 20th, most likely. These players may have played between the middle of June and the 1st of January probably something like 15 games more than they usually would? Because obviously they would be playing pre-season matches and stuff like that. But it's an extra 15 matches or 14 matches. So, it's going to be a hell of a lot of games to play and a smaller break between the end of last season, this season and next season. And I know they've just had a big break, but the mental sort of strain and the mental fatigue that goes along with such a rushed and crushed finish to this season, followed by a short break, if any break, and then the new season. And then you've got, again, the build-up of matches over January, culminating in obviously the Christmas period that is very hectic. So I think it's a good sign that we will have him for that time. Also, there's a chance we'll be in the Champions League. So we need a higher quality of substitute. We need a higher quality of player to bring on. It's not just a case of Martial at 60% because he's knackered. As good as Martial is, and he'll be starting every game. He's our first choice striker. I think he's excellent. I think we need to save him for more games, and also a fatigued Martial in the last 20 minutes of games isn't as effective as 100% Ighalo, and then you've got 100% Martial for the next game. Especially if we've got, in the Europa League group stage, let's face it, we could rest players. We saw the team that was put out in the penultimate game of this season's group stage, full of youngsters, which is nice to see. But if you've got a Champions League group with Barcelona, Dortmund and Sporting Lisbon, you can't really afford to rest players, or you don't necessarily have the ability to rest players. At least there's no Euros. Well, it would be completely unmanageable, wouldn't it? Next story then. And this is an update on the whole Jadon Sancho situation coming from David Ornstein. Danny Sabbath again, they're asking about Saul. What I've mentioned the Sal story, of course. What it is he's tweeted, I'm announcing my new club in 3 days, which I don't know why they've given a 3-day countdown, but they have. I'm announcing my new club in 3 days. There are a lot of rumours, and my personal belief is that this won't be him making a transfer to Manchester United it will be some sponsorship or some marketing or some sort of deal like that. So I've not made it one of the main stories today. And if we do hear rumours, if there are sort of reports that start trickling out that it is in fact a transfer to a new football club for him as a player, then of course we'll be covering it as much as you could possibly want on here. But for the moment, it seems to me as though it's one of those like, I've signed for club takeout, the best and fastest delivery in Madrid. Do you know what I mean? It's going to be one of those like club things rather than an actual football club, is my take anyway. Sal is following a lot of United players on Insta, as well as Man United, Evra Ferdinand and Man United Foundation. Weird. Potentially weird, but again, players follow other players. United have got Spanish players. United are one of the biggest clubs in the world. You would assume as a player that Sal is, him and the people who look after his social media would want to keep abreast of one of the biggest clubs in the world's news and players. So I don't necessarily read too much into that. Again, if this information and this evidence keeps mounting and stacking towards a potential Sal is coming to Manchester United, we're not going to miss it. Don't you worry about that. So anything that comes out of that story will be covered on Stretford Paddock. You can make sure about that. When a player makes the announcement, it smells that the player thinks they are bigger than the club they're transferring to. I think it makes it seem like they think they're bigger than the club they're leaving, personally. Like when Griezmann did his old Barcelona announcement, I don't think he thinks he's bigger than Barca. I think he thinks he's bigger than Atletico. Next story then. Jadon Sancho. This is a report from David Ornstein. Again, in this, he's sort of reiterating some of the points he's made before. Obviously, we saw yesterday Jadon Sancho getting a hat-trick against Paderborn, I believe, in a 6-1 win there. His first hat-trick of his career. David Ornstein quote tweeting one of his old tweets from May the 16th. So this is a couple of weeks old now, but essentially what he's doing, again, this is my reading into it, but what he's doing there is reiterating that these points are still true. These points that he made 2 weeks ago are still true, and then adding further details. So the tweet from May the 16th, which he's quote tweeted, so is, again, like I said, reiterating these points and saying that they're still true, is that United are the most proactive. Do you know when you have a nose whistle? United are the most proactive team in signing Jadon Sancho. Real Madrid and Liverpool also in contact but are improbable. Man City being kept abreast, and he said unlikely there. No Chelsea dialogue since January. Dortmund won't take under 120 million euros, which is very much at the north of the supposed fees that we've seen being thrown around for Jadon Sancho. We've seen anywhere between £80 million, £90 million, and like I said, all the way there up to 120 million euros. So that's a potential sticking point. No agitation to leave or decision until the season ends. And again, so that was what he tweeted a couple of weeks ago, and he's retweeted that and quoted saying, Jadon Sancho showed again today why he's amongst the most coveted players in world football. If Dortmund receive an offer that fits their valuation and Sancho is happy with the deal, he goes this summer. If not, he stays without a problem for either side. So again, the point there is this deal is still on the table. Jadon Sancho is still for sale. Dortmund are still willing to sell him. He's still willing to move. But we need to take that next step forward. There's still, as far as I'm aware, and I'm pretty certain of this, there has been no updates on the transfer window, which is set to open on July the 1st. We haven't had it's going to be later, it's going to be extended, it's going to be shorter, it's going to be truncated, it's going to start this. We don't know. So there is a chance that the transfer window opens when football is still playing, which is going to be very interesting and something to deal with. Although it looks as though the Bundesliga will finish earlier than everyone else, of course, because they've come back earlier and they already play less games. So getting Jadon Sancho out of Dortmund may be less difficult. I think something to look into as well, if you think United were clearly after a striker. We've now tied down Odion Ighalo till January. That frees up a potential 40, 50, 60 million. We're looking at Werner for 50. We're looking at Moussa Dembele for 60. We're looking at Josh King for between 20 and 30. We've essentially taken any of those fees, whichever you would like to mention, away from or kept that in to the transfer sort of kitty, if you will, that United are working from. We've seen these loans and these movements of money and cash flow and all this sort of stuff totaling, I think, somewhere around £170 million at the moment. But some of that was to pay off Harry Maguire, and there should be, again, rumours of more like 250 available if they want it. And again, we've just saved ourselves basically anywhere between 30 and 60 million, depending on who you think United may have signed instead of Ighalo, by extending that loan beyond the summer. Again, to me, and this is just my opinion, that could be an indication that a big transfer, or the sort of transfer that United were worried couldn't happen any longer, may well happen. So this Sancho deal, for instance, again, we know United are interested. We know that Sancho's interested. It's basically a money thing at this point. Keeping Ighalo on for an extra 4 months to take him, or an extra 6 months to take him up to the end of January, I think maybe a ploy and a way to sort of bridge the gap a little bit with a striker and save us some money so that we can splash out on 1 or 2 bigger signings this summer. So I think, again, it's just my opinion that this whole Ighalo deal may be with an eye on getting Jadon Sancho in. Do we think that this Ighalo deal has anything to do with Jadon Sancho? Do we think that United are sort of trying to save money here so we can spend it here? Or do you just think we just kept Ighalo because we like him? Or do you think there's a bit more of a political kind of transfer mind and eye to that deal? Let me know what you think in the comments to that one. When does the transfer window open? Is it the same across Europe? It's usually July the 1st till September the 1st. So it's those 2 months there usually. But obviously there's still going to be games being played in July the 1st. There are rumours that the Europa League and stuff like that isn't even going to restart until mid-July. So it's difficult to know exactly what's going on with the transfers. But again, as things stand now, there has been no update on transfer windows. There has been no update on anything like that. So it's going to be one to keep an eye on, definitely. Dimitri, I've mentioned the Sal tweet a couple of times. So if you want to check back through the video, you can talk about that. Have you seen the Sal Niguez post? Yes, and I think it's probably him teasing to move to some club that's not a football club. I think it'll be a sponsorship deal or some sort of merchandise or some sort of partnership or something like that. I don't think that it will be him moving clubs on Twitter. It could be, and if it is, and if you start hearing rumours, again, with the days ticking down, I think there's 2 days, they said 3 days yesterday, so it'll be 2 days. With the days ticking down, we will start to hear rumours of what this is going to be. You can bet your life that there are enough people who are interested in getting that story as quickly as possible, that if it does come out, and if it is the case that he's moving to United or Madrid or Barcelona or whoever it may be, I think we'll have heard some pretty heavy rumours about that beforehand, and if we do, we'll report them here on Stretford Paddock. Shane, what's the update on Sancho tonight? I've just been through that in the last 5 minutes. Just click back through the video. You can scroll along the bottom until you see the banner change to Sancho update. Click then, watch it, because I've just been through all that. Basically, United's still interested, and he's proven once again just how good he is. Right, we're going to be back for Howson's Brew this afternoon. That should be very good at 4 o'clock, so make sure you tune in for that. Thank you very much for joining me, everyone at home. Hope you all have a good day and a great week and a great June, generally. You know how it is. Again, thank you very much for joining me. 4 p.m. for Howson's Brew here on Stretford Paddock. And if there's any update on Sal, if there's any update on Sancho, any update on Ighalo even, you know you can find it all here at Stretford Paddock. So once again, thank you for joining me. See you in a bit.